you're new to heels, I'm going to give you a short but practical explanation of your shoes, how they work, and explain to you why the features of the shoe are important for how you dance. It's really important when you start in heels that you have shoes that support you, specifically the straps. So don't go necessarily for something pretty unless it's also supportive. So you should have nice thick straps if you're wearing sandals, or something nice and firm if you're wearing a boot. So things like the fake suede or the vinyl are fine. I wouldn't recommend like a lace boot or something that's soft, too soft and with too many holes in it. I suggest starting with a 7-inch or 8-inch heel, getting used to that, and something that has very supportive straps. So this could be a sandal with nice wide straps, but it could also be a boot. Once you start getting below 7 inches in a shoe, you do lose this nice slope here, which is going to help you with a lot of the movements that we do. When we are dancing, a lot of what we are doing is pivoting. So a pivot is when you're standing in one spot and the shoe is moving in a circular direction. Now, because the shoe has rubber on the bottom, if we stand flat with our weight equally distributed between the heel and the toe, and if there's weight on the stiletto and equal weight under the shoe, it's going to cause more friction, and this makes it hard to pivot. So what we have to think about is reducing the friction of the rubber on the floor. Now, to do that, we have to do something called weight transfer or weight shift. If your weight is distributed equally across the shoe, it's going to be challenging to pivot. If your weight shifts towards the front of the shoe, and specifically under the area of the ball of the foot, so the weight is now distributed more under the ball of the foot and in the front part of the shoe, and that is going to reduce the amount of rubber on the floor and reduce the amount of friction and make it easier to turn. So that is really one of the fundamental things you must know about how to use your shoe. If the weight is equally distributed between the heel and the toe, you can see the stiletto tips are on the floor and the weight is more centered towards the back of the shoe. If I try to turn with that weight distribution, there's very little movement. Even when I'm turning my whole body, not much is happening. Now, if I fully engage my legs, I push the ball of the foot into the shoe and I'm lifting my heels as if I was trying to peek over a neighbor's fence or be as tall as I possibly can, you can see how the weight shifts forward in the shoe. Now the weight is underneath the ball of the foot. Press those toes into the shoe as well, and then the pivot becomes much easier. So the difference between having flat and trying to turn and being lifted and trying to turn. When you first start dancing in heels, pivots and pirouettes are two of the most challenging skills. You can feel a little stuck to the ground as if everything is kind of melting down rather than lifting up, and it can feel sticky and like you can't turn properly. One key thing to understand is that the more engaged your legs and ankles and feet are, the easier it is going to be to shift the weight to the front of the shoe for a smooth pivot. So, for example, I'm thinking quads engaged, glutes engaged, calves engaged, pushing the ball of the foot into the shoe, the toes into the shoe. You're trying to be as tall and lifted as you can. Your core is on. Then you should find this smooth pivot motion. Yes? Whereas if I do not do that and I just relax my legs, I'm going to find that I can't turn. When you understand that, when you understand how to shift the weight to the front of your shoe in a pivot, it makes everything easier. Feet are wider than your hips. You're standing behind your pole. Your feet are out on the diagonal and your knees are following. The most important thing here is how we engage the legs. So we're going to push the ball of the foot and the toes into the shoe, come up onto our tippy toes. You'll feel your calves switch on and the stiletto tip is going to lift. You're going to hold that lift of the stiletto while you squat down. You're holding it onto the pole. You want to maintain this ankle position the whole time. So only go down as far as you can, push back up with strong ankles. If your ankles are collapsing, you've gone too far. So lift, squeeze the glutes, go as far as you can. Push up to fully straight legs. So make sure you really straighten those legs at the top. We're going to do 4 to 6 of these. You don't have to go low. You're just looking for control. So if you're finding you don't know what to focus on, it's overwhelming choosing new classes, I encourage you to look at our Slink Your Foundations program and just follow it. So if you follow it, after 1, 2, or even 3 months, you're going to see a massive change in your heel work.